Welcome, readers. Today on Bookchat, we are finishing up the Fallen Angel series with the final book, Immortal. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Amazon Music. Check it out. It has 70 million songs, thousands of playlists. You can listen without commercials. Sign up today and get your first month for free using the Shelf Addiction link. Go to getamazonmusic.com/shelf addiction and sign up today. Again, the code is Shelf Addiction. The link is also in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official or joining us over on the Book Clubs app. Talk about the series with us as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. You can always find us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available right now on Patreon. Join us there where we get even more candid with podcast after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. You can also show your support by utilizing our sponsor offers. Go to shelfaddiction.com/support and see all of the current promotional offers. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome back to another fantasy series read-along discussion, and today we are talking about the sixth and final book in the Fallen Angel series, Immortal. Joining me is the fantasy series read-along co-host, Casey from Heart Full of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes!
Oh my goodness.
The finale is always the best conversation,
Yes.
I feel like.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And we're going to have some good things to talk about today, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you the stats, and then you know how we do, and then we'll jump into it. Immortal was published October 7th, 2014 by New American Library, and the audiobook was published by Penguin Audio. The audiobook is narrated by Eric G. Dove, and the unabridged runtime is 10 hours and 47 minutes. The hardcover version is 388 pages, which is notably shorter than the previous installment. So that's interesting.
Yes. It is a lot shorter.
Yes. So, Casey, please hit us up with the synopsis.
All right. From the #1 New York Times best-selling author who has kept readers on the edge of their seats with her phenomenal Fallen Angels novels comes one of the most heart-stirring and eagerly anticipated events in the acclaimed series. Dun, dun, dun. The creator invented the game, and the stakes are nothing less than the fate of the quick and the dead. 7 souls, 7 crossroads. Reluctant savior Jim Heron has compromised himself, his body, and his soul, and yet he's on the verge of losing everything, including Sissy, the innocent he freed from hell. Jim's determined to protect her, but this makes her a weakness the demon Davina can exploit. With Jim torn between the game and the woman he's sworn to defend, evil's more than ready to play dirty. Humanity's savior is prepared to do anything to win, even embark on a suicide mission into the shadows of purgatory. True love is Jim's only hope for survival and victory. But can a man with no heart and no soul be saved by something he doesn't believe in?
This is a testament that longer doesn't mean better.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, because I must give her applause. She tied this up
perfectly.
Yes.
She pulled all the stops. She pulled all the details. Every little thread that I was trying to keep track of, she tied it up. And I was like, oh my God. You usually don't see this happening. Usually it feels like pulling teeth trying to get authors to be like, okay, so this is this thing, and this is this thing, and this was important here because X, Y, Z. But J.R. Ward did not hold back. She did everything perfectly. Not quite perfectly, but
near. Yeah.
Near perfect. Yeah.
And she even managed to sprinkle new information in there.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell y'all, so obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you must read Black Dagger Brotherhood series at some point in time, or you're familiar.
Yes.
But Lassiter is mentioned in this book quite a few times. And
he was mentioned before in one of the other Fallen Angel books, just in passing.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, there's Lassiter's name. But now it's kind of like, okay, what's going on with him? There's something, because at the end we'll get to the assignment, right? But I'm excited now because from what I understand, because I think I'm like one book behind in the BDB series. But from what I understand, Lassiter's book is next. I think there's a book focused on Lassiter. So now in the BDB series, spoiler alert, you guys, spoiler, and I mentioned it before, spoiler. So if you are far enough into the BDB series, you know, a specific person we hate shows up.
Yes.
So that makes me wonder, are we going to see
Adrian
and Eddie in BDB? Is it going to actually happen?
Better happen after this ending.
Right. I'm so excited. I can't wait now. I cannot wait to read that book. And it's like, I totally forgot that happened. You know, girl, this whole time I'm forgetting everything that happens. But now I'm ultra excited because I know Lassiter's book is right around the corner. So it's like, oh my gosh.
See, I quit BDB like 10 years ago or whatever it's been now. And I vaguely remember Lassiter. Like, I just remember he was an asshole. Like, that's all I remember about him. But I remember readers were demanding his book, and J.R. Ward was saying, yes, eventually Lassiter will get a book. And so that was in the back of my mind as I was reading this. And I was like, oh shit, does he actually have a book out there? Do I need to go read it? No, it's coming up. So now I have to go back and read the entire damn series because I want to see Eddie and Adrian again, which, thank fucking God, Eddie's back. Eddie's back. Oh my God, Eddie's back.
So, quick note about Lassiter. So, it is book 21 in series, and it comes out January 1st, 2023. So, it's coming.
Okay.
You have time to get back into BDB and catch up.
20 books. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you got time.
I got time. I'll do it.
You got time. So, all of y'all, if you are about that life, you got time. So, now back to this book.
Yes.
We kept saying, or I kept saying, he better come back to life. That body just chilling. That body on ice or something. Like, what? I'm so happy.
I'm so happy. But he was like kind of there the whole time anyway, in stasis in his body, knowing that Adrian was sleeping next to him. And he was like healing the house with his magic as he was there.
He's like, I was helping any way I could, basically. Yeah.
Like, is this a magical house? Is it a vampire house? Is it haunted by ghosts? Is it, just healing itself? No, it's Eddie just letting his magic fly as he lies dead.
I know. It's so crazy. So it's like he was dead, but not really. Like, he's like, because he wasn't a ghost. But he was there. It's very strange.
Yeah. Because he wasn't in hell or heaven or purgatory, just kind of in a stasis of his body, which sounds like its own type of hell.
Yeah. Which is awful, I think. Yeah. But
he's back. He's alive. He's here.
Alive.
He's everybody.
And poor Adrian, like, he'd be having dreams and stuff. And he's like, what the? Like, is this a dream? What is happening? And then he sits up and the gauze are on his face and stuff. And he's like, I can't see. He's like, you have stuff on your eyes. He's like, is this real? I'm like, oh my God. It was hilarious, but awesome. Like, I felt so good for him. Yeah.
I was laughing and crying at the same time because I felt for Adrian. Because he's like, yeah, no, I'm a 14-year-old girl. I'm not going to start crying. And then he's screaming. and Jim runs in butt ass naked. And everybody's like, we don't want to see that, Jim.
Oh my gosh. And Jim like runs in there and he's like, oh, hey, you're back.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Like, oh my gosh. And then it made sense. I'm like, oh, that's what he asked of Nigel. That's what he asked.
Nigel, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, look at Jim has a good heart.
He does. He's half good and he has a good heart.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that is so thoughtful. Like, he could have asked for anything, and he asked for something that was not for him.
I mean, it was a little bit because he did need Eddie, but it was mostly so Adrian could have Eddie back because Adrian needed Eddie more than anything.
Yeah, Eddie is like one of these characters, like he helps like in more ways. Like you kind of don't think he's that important, but he's really important. He's
super important.
Yeah, and I don't think Jim was thinking about that at all when he made the request.
No. Yeah. I mean, it may have been in the back of his head because he is a soldier and he does know that kind of stuff. But no, I think it was more of like Adrian needs Eddie. We need Eddie back. Like we just need him, not for being a soldier, but because he is part of the team. And without him, Adrian is falling apart. And we need him. We need him here.
Yes, we need him. So yay, finally. So we had some good stuff. And we got some further clarification on Sissy, which I liked.
Yes. Oh my God. You texted me. You're like, Casey, the fight is coming. Down. So
yes.
To me, as soon as I started reading it, I had to put the book down and go, fuck yes, Sissy, fuck yes.
I'm like, this is what Casey's been waiting for.
Yes.
The cuss out. He's getting it.
Except that she didn't go hard enough.
No, yeah.
She did not. She needed to go harder. I was like, Sissy, girly, come on. Slap him. Don't let him throw you under the bus like this.
Yeah.
Like, it was good. I loved it. But also, come on, girl. You can't just stand there and take it when he says it's your fault. Yell at him and tell him it's his fault.
Right.
Because he does not have a single brain cell in that head of his.
Like, you're sleeping on the job, dude. This is your mess up. You messed up.
Exactly.
So
it was Jim. He tried to pin it on her. And I was like, no, Sissy, you need to punch him. This is his fault.
And you know, it surprised me he managed to get through this because the whole time he still had her as the Achilles heel. Even in the end, she's saying to him, she's saying one thing to him and he is not listening. He's like, F what you're talking about. She deserves to die. I'm like, oh my God, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. They just all told you. He almost didn't get out of that. He almost failed.
He came very, very close to failing. Much closer than Sissy, although she was pretty damn close to failing too. She was
right there. Yes. Okay, so you guys, we talked about before, how is J.R.R. going to fit two souls into one book? So she did a little twist that I did not see coming. So, like Casey said, Sissy was the next soul. And everyone was like, is she the soul? Like, what? And of course, Jim was like, what do you mean? And they're like, listen, Adrian's like, listen to me. She's got Davida in her. Listen to me. He is like, how dare you say my woman is evil or has evil in her? He was like not listening at first.
He was being a dumb fuck again. I'm sorry, Jim, but you're so dumb.
Like, you have help. People are literally telling you. You're like,
Nigel would have said, this is the next soul. But Jim's like, no, I gotta figure it out on my own. Like, no, bitch. No, let Nigel tell you.
If he offers it, accept it. Why wouldn't you? You're such a big-headed man. Like, you're an idiot. So Okay, so we jumped ahead a couple steps.
Yeah.
And I should say, because to finish the thought, so you don't think I'm like retardo and couldn't finish the thought. Jim is the last soul. So those are all the souls accounted for.
Yes.
Now let's rewind and we talk about how Nigel was able to even help them. Because remember, Nigel killed himself. So we gotta talk about that. Like there's so much in this book and it is so short.
I don't understand how she went so fast with all of this, but bam, 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 bam. It was one blow after the other, and it all went super fast. And I'm still trying to process this book.
Yes.
Okay, so in the last book, Nigel killed himself, and he was trying to make it so that Jim would replace him up in heaven and they could get somebody else in Jim's place because Jim was being fucking stupid and, not in the game at all. And they lost the soul and they were down for the count and yada, yada, yada. You remember. So anyway, at the start of this book, Colin is devastated. He burns Nigel's body. He's crying all over the place. He's heartbroken because his lover has killed himself. And he goes to attack Jim. Jim fights him off. But then Jim gets this bloody stupid idea of going into purgatory himself to bring Nigel back. Yeah. Except it's impossible to do, as Adrian told him multiple times. So even knowing that it's impossible, Jim kills himself to go to purgatory to save Nigel without any chance of being saved.
Right. They don't even have a solution to the problem. They don't even know how they'll get him out. They've been reading this book. Sissy's been reading this book. She can't find anything.
Yeah. Like there's no solution. There's no chance of survival for anybody. Eddie did it once, but that was just because he had the blessing of the creator. And even that was very almost not good enough, according to Adrian. But Eddie's still dead at this point in the book.
Yes.
Sorry, we revealed that too soon. But
yeah. So Eddie had saved him before because he also had killed himself at some point.
Yes.
So
or Adrian. Or Eddie.
Yeah.
So yes, Jim slices his own throat open because he wants to go save Nigel, even though there is zero chance of being rescued out of purgatory. So help comes in the most absurd fashion of Davina.
Yes.
She is off on her own when all of a sudden she feels the pain of Jim killing himself, and she is
livid,
utterly destroyed.
Yeah, she's livid. Upset. She's sad.
Somebody killed him. She's ready to raise the world down because it's her lover who isn't actually her lover.
She's screaming and crying and wailing. I'm like, oh my goodness, girl.
Poor Davina. I have lots to say about her, but oh God. So she's looking in through the window and she's seeing Jim dead on the floor. She sees Colin against the wall. She thinks Colin just killed him. She sees that virgin, quote unquote, Sissy, and she's like ready to rip Sissy to shreds. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, she comes in, starts destroying everything, screaming and crying over her man. She's like pulling him into her lap as her body disintegrated into its demonic skeleton self.
She couldn't hold her glamour while she was doing all that wailing and raging.
I love her Gollum hair description because I'm a Lord of the Rings fanatic, and just that like little wisp of hair on the skeleton head. Oh my God. So anyway, Adrian decides to shout at Davina and say, we can bring him back. You just got to work with us. And it takes them a minute, but they do it magically, surprisingly.
Yes, because of the angel, or Colin, right?
Oh, yeah, Colin.
And Davina, they have like a face off, kind of like they throw their magic at each other, or their powers at each other, and it creates like a vacuum.
A vacuum.
Yeah. And and the whole time, they're holding on to stuff, trying not to be sucked into the thing. And it's pulling Jim out. But on the other side, Jim has been walking and singing. And let me just note, the audiobook narrator was actually singing horribly. He was singing horribly like Jim was singing. It was so awesome.
I need to listen to that. Oh
yes, it was awesome. I'm like, what? He's singing?
I just saw like on the
yes,
on the page.
Yes, and you could hear it. It was amazing. I'm like, wow, he did it.
He went for it. That's fantastic.
Yes. So he finds Nigel, and of course, he actually had a little help. We find out he has some help with that too.
Remember Dog, who is God?
Yes.
He was barking and telling Jim which way to walk in this endless purgatory sand dune place where if you stop walking, you turn into a statue and then disintegrate.
Right.
So it's a very interesting take on purgatory.
Yes, absolutely. So he finds Nigel. He tries to get him to walk, and he's like dead weight. It's like since he found him, Nigel was like, "Oh, I can give up now. You found me, thank God." Well,
he had given up just before Jim showed up, and like he had kind of frozen in place, and so Jim's pulling him up and breaking his arms and his legs because he's purgatory statue, and then the rift opens above them. And the freaking couch falls through.
Yes.
Got sucked into the vortex. The couches, the lamps, the rugs, like it all got sucked in and just dropped into purgatory.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's like starting to lift them. And he's carrying this dead weight. He's like, dude, can you like hold on to me or something?
I was so worried in that moment because everybody kept stressing about we cannot lose Jim's body. We can't lose Jim's body. If we lose his body, he has nothing to come back to. Well, Colin had already burned Nigel's body. There was no body for Nigel to come back to. So I guess that's technically a plot hole, but J.R. Ward just kind of like magically waved it away and said, oh yeah, no, his body just recreated itself around his soul that returned.
Yeah.
I was like, well, then why were they so worried about Jim if that could happen?
Yeah. Let it slide. We're gonna let it go. We're gonna let it go.
I'll let it go. I'm giving it the side eye, but I'll let it go because I'm glad Nigel came back. I'm glad Colin got reunited with him, although Colin was rightfully pissed and made Nigel work for that forgiveness.
He did. He made him work for it, as he should. Like, how dare you?
As he should. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, when he came back, Jim was all about Sissy, and Davina's like put out, like, she gets so upset.
She's so betrayed because her man, her lover, her boyfriend is like reuniting with another woman in front of her.
And she's like, I saved you, you idiot.
Saved you. This was me. She thought he'd gone to purgatory for her for some reason. And she's like, oh, you romantic son of a bitch. I love you so much. And then he's like, no, it was never for you. It was for Nigel.
It's not about you. Yeah.
And everybody else. Yeah. We'll dive into Davina in a bit. We need to keep going.
She's got a whole nother thing going on.
So when Jim killed himself, his last words that nobody could hear because he slit his throat, his last words were, I love you, to Sissy. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I mean, obviously this was coming. This has been coming since
Yeah.
the first time he saw her over that tub. But like, oh God, are you kidding me?
Now, I think miraculously, I think J.R. Ward managed to make Sissy emotionally older. I feel like she didn't feel like that young child she did before. So without her doing that, it would have been so gross. So gross. And I mean, there still is a really big age gap between them. But
it's huge. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but they never once mentioned her age in this book. They've mentioned it previously, so we know she's 19 years old, but they never gave a year in this book. There was a part where she's like, yeah, no, I never drank in college. And I was like, bitch, you're underage.
That was by design. It was like, hey, this was a year ago. Forget that. This is this book. Forget what you knew before.
Yeah, forget what we said before about her being 19.
Yeah.
She's just a college student. And I was like, yeah, no, she was in hell for a while. So obviously she's aged, you know, she's seen some shit. So it's okay. But also, she's still 19.
Yeah.
But they never once said that in this book.
And honestly, her age does peak out sometimes. Like, after her and Jim got involved, I'm like, why? Okay, so obviously Davina knows she's the soul, right? Davina always knows.
Yes.
So Davina is effing with her like the whole time. She's like, oh, me and Jim F last night, we did all these things. And she's like, oh, did he sleep with you? Oh, did he do this? Oh, is it wild? You know, she poking the bear. She like, you know, and I'm like, you know, she hates you. She tortured you. Why would you take anything she says at face value?
Exactly. There was that whole line or that paragraph where she's like, do I believe what Jim says or do I believe what Davina says? Jim or Davina, Jim or Davina. And she's literally going back and forth. And I want to sit her down and slap her and be like, are you fucking kidding me? The fact that Davina is even a possibility of speaking the truth when she killed you and tortured you for a year, or not years, but it felt like
centuries.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks, but it felt like 2 centuries. Like,
yeah.
No.
Why would you believe anything coming out of her mouth? You know she's pure evil. Why would you believe her? I don't.
Exactly.
That's that young child shit right there. Like
that was her innocent. I've never been with a man before. I don't know what to feel. Also, she did have some of that evil Davina inside of her, and that's what Davina was poking to get that anger riled up.
Yeah.
But still, one shred of common sense, and it's like, don't trust Davina. Davina lies. Davina wants to cause discourse and discord and
even with the little bit of the evil that was in her, it's like that her emotions overrode any possible logic. Like
any possible logic.
Yeah. I'm like, girl, you dumb. Here we go. Here we go. Why are you listening to her?
Come on, child.
Right.
Use a brain. You were in college. Use a brain. You have something somewhere. But no, she absolutely believes Davina. She thinks Jim is stepping out on her, I guess, would be the phrase. But he slept with Davina 2 days ago. Now he's sleeping with Sissy. She thinks he's like going right back to sleep with Davina 2 hours later.
But see, this is what's wild. Okay, so this little thing did happen pretty quickly because she had to move on with the plot.
Oh, yeah.
But they sleep together. You know, Jim unloads. He tells her everything she asked. Like, you know, Davina even baited her with, you know, he killed his mother. You know, he killed the people that killed his mother. You know, he's baiting her to make her, you know, make her feel like Jim was a bad guy. And he told her everything. He just told her. And they sleep together, and he tells her, I'm going to see Davina. He didn't even hide it. He tells her. And so when Davina calls, like, hey, your man is coming over here. You should come. I'm like, girl, you gonna run over there. Like
a stupid idiot.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, yes, bitch, I know he's going over there. Bye. Click. That's like, I know he's coming to see you. Good luck. That's.
I don't really understand what Jim's end goal was in that moment to see Davina. Like, I don't know if he wanted to go there to kill her, if he was just there to talk or to try and say, let's quit, which he did again the next time he went to go see Davina. Like, it was unclear why he had to go in that moment. But okay, sure. Again, let's just go with the punches.
I agree with you. I was like, why did he do that right then? It wasn't really clear.
Like, he didn't need to go to Davina right then. He really didn't. So again, he has no brain cells. Sissy has no brain cell. Together, they have no brain cells. It's a fucking miracle they both survived this book.
Yes. And so that was a mess. So she takes off. But before that, though, they were trying to find Jim because they were trying to find him because they realized.
No, that's the next time.
Oh, that's the next time. Okay, that's right.
The next time. This was the time where still has his essence on the
car
ornament.
God.
So she switches bodies with him and then makes it look like he's fucking Davina when it's really Davina in Jim's body laying on top of Jim in Davina's
Right, so she transformed Jim's body into Davina. And Davina transformed her own body using Jim's essence into Jim.
Yes. So when Sissy opens the door, she sees Jim, but it's really Davina. And so that's why Davina can stand there and say, hey, I just came here to have sex with Davina. Don't get mad at me. And Sissy's rage is like, yep, I got the knife. I'm going to stab you right now.
She's like, roar! She's like very angry. And the whole time, like, didn't she think it was odd that Davina, quote unquote, didn't really have anything to say at all?
Sissy doesn't say that in the book. She focused on the necklace and the halo. But I was like, why would Davina just lay there lifeless? Like, not moving, not gloating, not saying anything, not even smirking. I think Jim was like trying to cry. So I don't know if she was crying or what. But she was like laying naked on this couch, not moving. And I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with Davina? Is she just a sex doll now? Like, she's not moving. This is not normal. But no, the last possible second, Sissy realizes that the Jim she's about to kill doesn't have a halo, and he's not wearing her little necklace.
Yeah, so which he would never take off.
But he does later.
Yes, he does. Which just means danger, Will Robinson, danger. But yeah, so at the last moment. But then I'm like, ultimately, though, that makes me wonder about the rules again a little bit. If I start nitpicking it, her intent was to stab him. She was going for him. But she did realize in the last second, she realized something was off. But you were going to do it. You were going to do it.
I think, and this might be a bit of a stretch, but I think because she didn't actually like stick the knife in Davina / Jim body, that's what stopped and made it okay. Because Matthias in book 2, he pulled the trigger and actually shot at the person. So like he did that final bit.
He did the action.
She was almost to the pulling of the trigger, but stopped just before she actually pulled the trigger, so to speak. So I think like it's that tiny second. Also, I think she gave Dog a turkey sandwich at some point, so he probably just liked her and read the rules for her.
He's like, okay, I'll let it slide. You didn't actually stab him.
The intent was there, but then you stopped yourself at the last second. So the intent changed. So we're just not going to say that this happened. I don't know.
And it's funny because this at the point where she realizes something is off and she keeps looking at Davina's body, which is Jim. She's looking And Davina, aka Jim, is like, "What's wrong with you? Don't you guys just stab me already?" I'm like, "What is wrong?" I cannot.
Jim would not say that. Jim would be like trying to pull the knife out of her hand, tackling her to the ground, denying everything, not saying, "Yeah, I came here and took my clothes off to have sex with Davina." Like, he realizes at the last second. They get to switch bodies, and when they run out of there, and then they get home, and that's when Eddie's coming to life.
Yes.
This book moved so fast. It was one punch, and then you're right into the next plot twist, and you're like, oh my God. Oh my God, she was a soul. This is over. They just won another flag. Hallelujah. Wait a second. Why is Adrian screaming in the attic? Oh, Eddie's alive. Oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a wild ride.
Y'all, before we get on to the back end of this ride, we talk about Jim's part of this journey. Let's take a quick commercial break. Catch our breath.
Yes.
Listen to a few commercials. Check out the reading journal and the reading notebook available on Amazon now. Click buy, support the show, support your girl for all her hours spent editing.
Yes.
And we'll be right back. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, welcome back, guys. We're going to continue this conversation, and let's jump right back on in.
Yep.
So, problem solved with Sissy, but now what?
But now what? Who's the next soul? Who's the final soul?
Yeah.
No, wait. They have to take her evil out first.
Oh, we skipped right up. Okay. Yeah. Oh, God. So... Which was actually cool because Eddie came back and he knew what needed to be done.
Exactly what to do. So throw back to book 1 with Vin and his evil and how they ripped the evil out of him in book 1. They recreated that for Sissy in this book because she had some evil Davina in her. And that's why she was the soul, but also why she can't get to heaven and also why she's so angry and trying to light everything on fire.
Like fire starter girl, like she was kind of doing the most. Like she was trying to set stuff on fire. She was raging. And I mean, technically all the signs were there. We should have known it.
I think the halos was the biggest clue. And I just thought that meant that she was going to be the next savior or fighting with Jim. But we saw Matthias at Home Depot. We saw Vin in the newspaper. We saw the cop guy online. And they all have the halos. Yeah. Sissy had her own halo. Jim had his halo. And she's always like, oh, yeah, no, you're just an angel. You're just an angel. No, it was the 7 souls.
Yeah, it marked you. And I mean, I'd like to know, maybe that was, the creator with a little loophole trying to help them by allowing Sissy to see the halos. Because it seems like the whole time the creator was like kind of helping them on the sly, but in not obvious ways.
I mean, yeah, no, he was dog. He was always there. He would bark sometimes to warn them. I think at one point he helped guard Eddie's body while they were being attacked. Like he was always there, always helping them. Absolutely. But maybe this is how Davina could also see all the souls, because she always knew who the soul was. And Sissy had part of Davina in her. So maybe that was trying to like even the playing fields. And so
mark them for Davina.
Well, how did Davina know?
I don't know. I just feel like Davina knew because, see, Davina had 2 roles. I feel like Davina knew as Nigel knew. Nigel knew who the souls were.
That's true.
So I feel like Davina and Nigel are like, if we're talking, let's talk about a work infrastructure. Like, I feel like they're equals, right? They report to the same boss.
Yes.
But Davina was doing double duty because like Jim was actively really working for the good side, even though he could go the other way. He was never really helping Davina. So Davina had to do her own legwork.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. I just thought that she just knew because Nigel knew. Like, both of them knew.
I mean, maybe Nigel could see the halos too. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was Dog just going, yeah, let's give Sissy a bigger role here. Let's break all the rules because I'm the creator and I can do whatever I want.
Because I don't remember Nigel saying anything about halos or seeing halos. I mean...
Well, he wouldn't, though, right? Like, he wouldn't... I don't know. No, I mean, he never said anything. No.
Right. So nobody else, like, every time she tells someone, they're like, girl, I don't see what you're seeing. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see it. So she was the only one that could see it. So finally, they kind of believed her after she said, look, show me some like, let's look at some more people, right? And
she was saying, I recognize the guy. I recognize this guy. Yeah.
And then she said, well, this guy, I must be wrong. This guy doesn't have a halo. And then Adrian was like, well, no, he's his father. He wouldn't have one then. So it kind of like proved to them, like she had to prove what she was talking about, which kind of annoyed me too. Like, do you think the girl is crazy? Why can't you just take her at face value? Why does she have to prove to you that she's not crazy and she's seeing halos?
To be fair, she is a little bit of a dummy, as we just said. But, no, I'm right there with you. Yeah, it was annoying that she had to prove herself that they wouldn't just believe it. Like, if Eddie had said it, or if Jim had said it, they would have just believed it without the proof that they forced her to jump through. Like, yeah, no, that was super annoying. But also, yeah, no, she and Jim don't have any brain cells. So.
No. They both were missing a few screws. So with that, they believed her, like, oh crap, Jim's the soul. Oh no.
Oh no, we have to go save Jim.
We have to find him right now and tell him he's the soul. Because he has no clue. And you know him, he is single-mindedly revenge style.
Going to go kill Davina because she dared breathe in Sissy's direction. Again. Well, no, okay, so first he goes to Davina. And this is... I actually really liked Davina's fight with him in this moment when she's like, you use me and abuse me and you never acknowledge me and I deserve better than this. And I'm like, you go, girl. You're an evil
demon. Do you though? Like, Davina, you've been delusional this whole time. That man never liked you.
Yeah, he didn't.
He never liked you.
But she does deserve better.
Does she though? I don't know. She's evil. I don't know. Like,
Davina to be happy, but also, I know that means the end of the world for us. I don't know. I really... We'll go into Davina later.
She's like Lucifer, you know? Like, you love Lucifer, but he's bad. He's not good. Bad.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's Davina. You like her. You want to root for her, even though she is stuck on stupid sometimes, as far as Jim. And it's funny because, like you were saying, you want her to win. The creator wants her to win in her own right. Because let's just say she went to therapy again, and then instantly, like, what is up with this therapist? Something is wrong now.
Something is different with this therapist. Something is off. And it turns out that her therapist was God.
Yeah. Trying to tell her, like, look,
all Davina. Over the place. God was dog. God was therapist. God was probably that janitor at the church with Sissy in the last book.
Yeah, like, and they literally had, like, a real blunt conversation about, you know, do you think, you know, basically God isn't looking out for everybody? I mean, essentially, I'm like, well, even though you lose, he doesn't want you to be, like, dead or, like, you know, it's crazy. It's wild to think about that. But I'm like, okay, that was kind of interesting and kind of twisty at the same time. But she's like, Davina is Davina. It's like, yeah, she understood it. She understood, like, she felt like a kinship or something, some pull toward that therapist in there.
Oh, yeah. No, she was describing how she found the therapist with like the random commercial on TV. And all of a sudden she's getting 3 to 4 sessions a week.
That therapist is there whenever you need her. Because he just had to, shift forms and, floss out that turkey sandwich. He was there for you.
Yeah. No, Davina is truly evil and despicable, but also quite possibly my favorite villain ever.
Yeah.
And part of me wants her to find somebody just as evil and OCD and despicable to like run away into hell with and just like go count her lipsticks and her shoes and do all her stuff. But it's not Jim, obviously. Also, she's like truly heinous. And I'm glad she didn't win the game because I don't want her to die.
Everyone would have been in hell essentially if she won. You can't have that. No matter how likable she is, you can't do it. You can't do it. Good versus evil, good always wins. At least in these type of stories, good prevails. It has to, formula. With the formula, it has to. So, I kind of knew she was going down, but it was a fun ride getting there. Yeah.
For the genre, I absolutely knew she was going down. But, at the end when she's falling and, losing her stuff because the demonic souls in the wall are pulling and grabbing and claiming all of her stuff, I was like, I kind of wish she had somebody. And she's, sitting there wishing that she had somebody. And I'm like, I kind of want that for you too. But also, like, maybe just stay down in this
Stay down for a while. Stay down. And I mean, now that I know she does reappear, God lets her out. He lets her out.
Yeah. God cares about her in his own way.
He realizes, the world needs balance, right? Yin and yang.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so she wasn't going to be just tight, secured up forever. We knew that wasn't going to happen realistically. But in this case, good wins. You're down in your dungeon. Nah. There you go. Nah. So let's talk about the scene, though. Let's talk about. Yes. Okay. So you explain the scene where Jim comes to kill her.
So Jim shows up at her apartment. They fight. He apologizes. He says, I'm sorry. You do deserve better. But he stole her knife. And he tells her to go find God and they will quit this game entirely. They'll go to God and just quit. They'll leave. And Davina and her crazy ass is like, oh my God, this is like me getting to introduce my boyfriend to my dad.
Oh, sweet.
We're going to quit. We're going to run off to Bora Bora or whatever.
We're going to skip off into the hellish sunset together. It's going to be great.
So she's all excited and rushing off to go find God so they can quit this game. And Jim, with her stolen knife, goes and finds her hidden stash of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, he finds her alarm. He finds the new victim.
The new virgin who's male this time. So thankfully he's not going to go down another rabbit hole and fall in love. And he finds the big warehouse business place that has all of her stuff, her shoes, her lipsticks, and it has the mirror. The one mirror where she can travel between hell and earth, and it's the portal that the portal that cannot be broken, because if you break it, you also break and shatter into a million pieces, and it's not good. So his goal, because he's super angry, is to take the mirror and then kill Davina, because Davina breathed on Sissy. So right. He goes here. In the meantime, Sissy is explaining to Adrian and Eddie that he is the final soul because of the halos, and it takes them a few minutes to finally accept this. And as soon as they accept it, they have to figure out how to find Jim. And so they try to do the same tracking with the necklace he was wearing, and it's not working because he went super invisi and like he's super magical and powerful because he's a savior, and but like we can't find him. Mm-hmm. So Eddie makes a compass out of Davina's book, and they track the mirror instead of Jim, so they get to the same place.
Yeah, because they know that's where he's gonna go. Yeah. He's gonna go for her, right?
So they're all there. Jim's about to lose his goddamn mind because Sissy is in this place, and he's like, no, she cannot be here. Eddie and Adrian are like,
he goes
we're
off.
Not even going to talk to you. Sissy's trying to calm him down and be like, you have the evil that was in me. It's also in you. You're the final soul. Don't do this. He's like, I'm not listening to you. I don't believe you. I have to kill her because, you know, why listen to logic or a woman?
Right. When you can get revenge on someone's behalf who didn't ask for it.
Exactly. So then Davina shows up, and she is furious. She is livid. She's so pissed that Jim lied to her again, even though he lies to her every single book.
Every time. You should expect him to just lie to you.
Exactly. She's like, I can't believe I fell for your lies again. You're destroying my stuff. The stupid non-virgin is here. Because, you know, she's not a virgin anymore, so she can't call her the stupid virgin. But anyway, so Sissy, Adrian, and Eddie run to find the mirror and get rid of the mirror somehow without breaking it. Davina tries going after them. Jim keeps tackling Davina like a fucking football player. And she's like, oh, if he just kills me right now, I win. But also I can't let anybody touch my stuff, so I have to fight back and push him off. And so she's in this OCD torture scene herself because part of her wants him to just stab her because then she wins. But people touching her stuff is driving her crazy, so she can't not fight them.
So Adrian and Eddie and Sissy are trying to move the mirror because Adrian's still weak. He can't do shit. So Sissy's like, let me help. So the three of them are trying to shuffle this mirror across the room. While Davina and Jim are over here fighting it out. It's like...
And again, like Sissy, Jim is seconds away from stabbing Davina. The intent is right there. The knife is up. He's gonna... But then he starts thinking about what Sissy said. He thinks about his mother. He thinks about every traumatic experience he's ever had in his entire life.
Yes.
Yada, yada, yada. He stops because of Sissy's face in his head. He's like, it was almost like she was magically put there in my mind's eye. And I'm like, I wonder who could have done that.
Someone helped you again.
Somebody wanted to sway this game one way over the other.
So anyway, instead of stabbing her, he takes her, whirls her around a couple times, and flings her away.
Yes, he shoves her. And she's, arms flailing in her stiletto heels, falling backwards. There's like a mile of space for her to fall into. But of course, she falls directly into her mirror, shattering it as she falls backwards into the well of hell or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And she just falls endlessly until she hits the pit.
And it's another vacuum vortex type thing. And
all of the stuff is getting sucked in. And I was almost happy for her, like she would have her stuff. But no, all of the souls in hell are like reaching out and grabbing it as it's falling. And I'm like, oh, you get nothing.
Yeah, they took those, she kept tokens from every person and they took them back. They took ownership back. So she didn't have it.
So at the very end, she's left alone in this hellish hole.
Well,
with
she
nothing
does have
but
her
her
Louboutins
stilettos.
that
Yes.
survived.
Yes.
She says a testament
She
to a
can't even
good
hold on to
shoe.
her beautiful form. She's back in that Skeletor with the wisp of hair.
Ugh.
Like,
If she jams her foot in that shoe, gross.
But also, I feel bad for her. But
I'm
yeah,
like,
no,
that's what
Davina,
you get, B. That's what you get, biatch. Like, bye.
she had some of the most growth, but also stayed exactly the same throughout the entire book, or the entire series. I both love and hate her, and yeah, no, she is the best villain. She got what she deserved.
I think that is what makes her such a good villain, because even though she's grown in some ways, she's still evil.
Yes.
She's still
she's
bad.
still evil to the core.
Right.
She is still horrifying, horrific. Like, some of the stuff she made or did to Jim in book 2, like when she was torturing him in her chamber, that is fucked up.
And she's done that to Adrian?
Yeah.
Lots of times.
She's done that to so many people. Mm-hmm. Oh, and okay, so as she's falling and all of her stuff is getting sucked in, the evil gets sucked out of Jim, so he's no longer evil. But then the evil gets sucked out of Adrian because
yes.
the injuries he took on from Matthias was actually Davina's evil.
Yeah.
And we'll take that.
Okay, we'll just let it go. We'll let it ride.
we'll let it go. Sure.
Yeah.
Down into the mirror, and yay, Adrian's cured. He can have sex again.
He's all dancing around like, woo, yeah, doing cartwheels. Like, I'm back, baby. Yeah. He's
like the cartwheels and the dancing, and he's like, yeah, my dick worked.
Yeah.
Getting laid.
Yes, he was very excited.
Oh my God, it was wild.
First thing they do, hey, Eddie, let's go find some chicks. My stuff works again. Let's do it.
My stuff works again. You're alive again. Let's go out.
Let's go party. Yeah. Yeah. Fun times.
Oh my God. This book was just wild. There was so much in this book. It felt like there was more in this book than in the previous book. But that's just because we only focused on the core group in this book, and we didn't need to, set up entirely new characters who are falling in love and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But still, there's so much.
I know.
The pacing was insanely fast. Like, it just never stopped. There was never really a moment of peace for any of them.
And I was okay with it. Like, sometimes I really like when a book goes like at that breakneck speed. It's like bam, 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 bam. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun ride, especially when it makes sense. Now, if it's a fun ride and it's all over the place, that doesn't work. But this made sense.
This made a lot of sense because it was the last book in the series. We know all of these characters so well at this point that we're like, oh yeah, Eddie's coming back to life. Hallelujah. Of course Adrian's screaming. It was just one punch after the other. But I loved it. I loved this book.
And then at the end, Jim and Sissy, obviously, they're together. He asked her if he wants to, if she wants to be with him, kind of, even if we have to leave here.
Yeah, of course. Like, let's go. I'm good. So, we're happy together.
Yeah. And I think this was also him asking, I think he asked Nigel about this as well, if they could go to heaven.
Go to heaven. Because I
gotta say, I'm telling you, that scene when the smoke clears and he sees his mom, I cried. I'm like, oh my God.
This giant man who has the Grim Reaper on his back is crying and going, oh, Mama, is that you? And I'm just like,
I cried. And I'm like, man, I don't be crying like that, but I teared up. I was like, oh my God. He gets to see his mom finally.
For the first time since he was what? Like 12 after she was butchered.
Right.
And yeah, no, they got to go into heaven and he got to be with his mom, and his mom met Sissy and she loved Sissy, of course. And yeah, no, it was a very, very sweet, happily ever after, even though they're both technically dead and in heaven.
They are dead, yeah. But you know, she even says to Sissy, like, you know, this is such a great place. You'll understand why it's worth the wait for your people. You know, when you see your people again, it'll be great. You're great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, boo,
boo, but also, yay.
But yay. Yeah, yay. And so that's what happens to them. Yeah, but before that, of course, they get to say their goodbyes to, you know, Adrian and Eddie after they had their sex fest.
But Dog showed up, and this is what we were talking about earlier. Dog showed up, and he puts his little paw on the table and burns the face into the table, and he barks at Adrian and Eddie, and he's like, this is your next case. You had your one-night vacation.
Had your fun. Back to work.
Now back to work. You gotta go find Lassiter. And these two, they're like, where the fuck is Lassiter? Is he in purgatory? Where is he? He's, you know, with the Black Dagger Brotherhood 2 blocks away.
Oh, yeah, he's like 15 minutes away. Good luck.
I can't wait for Lassiter's book. I will.
And they were annoyed. They were like, no, why us? Why do we have to do this?
We don't like Lassiter. He's such an asshole. Why do we have to go deal with him?
Oh, well, you guys will see, if you haven't already, what Lassiter actually becomes. So he's not like them in the traditional sense anymore when they find him again. So some stuff happened to him in BDB, and you're like, oh.
Yeah,
so
no, I don't remember any.
So, I mean, they will find Lassiter, but in this point in time of the BDB series, he's something else. I'm not going to say anything in case people haven't read it, but I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting.
I'm curious about the timeline too, because this series took place in 3 weeks? Like everything happened so fast. And the very first book came out when the 4th BDB book came out?
Yeah.
So technically this is still early BDB series. And God is like, nope, you don't have the weekend off. You have to go find Lassiter right now. So
I don't know. I think almost we're going to be expected to wash that time away because none of the BDB books have been retroactive. You know what I'm saying? We've never gone back in time for any of these books. They're all present.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Again, I haven't read the last 10 books of the series or more. I don't know. So I'm totally lost. I'm just curious as to what the timeline is going to be. Like maybe it takes Eddie and Adrian a long ass time to find Lassiter. Maybe they start in the Atlantic Ocean. Maybe they go
there's a really good reason why they may not be able to find him if you think about what's happened in the other books.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious about the timeline. So that's the one thing I will be watching and waiting for.
I'm not sure they're even going to address it. Because they didn't address it with Davina. Like at the end of the one book, she just kind of just steps out of hell and she's just walking and you're like, oh, fuck, is that bitch? She's back. And then you don't really know how long, they don't really address the time. So. Well,
maybe once Eddie shows up or Eddie and Adrian show up and they'll be like, oh, fuck, Davina's free. We got shit to do. Let's go get Tim.
Yeah. So it's wild. So like I said, I'm even a couple books behind there. So some more stuff has happened, surely, that I'm not even considering because I'm behind. So
yeah, I'm super behind. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah. So. Okay, let's rate the book. Let's rate Immortal. How about, would you like to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I'm giving it 5 stars. I loved this book. Okay, so yes, there were times when I wanted to reach in and strangle Jim because he was a dumb man. Mm-hmm. But I felt that way through most of the series. So that's nothing new. But
Yes.
I love this book. She did not pull any punches. She's wrapped everything up. Every detail meant something.
Yeah.
I love this series, and I can easily see myself rereading it at some point. And like, I'm so excited to go read 20 books for the Black Dagger Brotherhood just to get back and catch up with Lassiter book 21. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, this is a 5-star read.
Yes.
I'm very excited about it.
All right. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I gave it 5 stars first time around. I know last time I was like, I gave it 5 stars, but I don't remember why. Now I know why. Because I stand by that 5 stars. I really enjoyed the fast pace. I enjoyed that everything had its place. Not there were some little minuscule plot holes if you wanted to dig around.
Side eye that you're like,
yeah.
Really, J.R. Ward? Really?
Yeah, but
hey,
for the
magic hand wave this away, but sure.
Exactly. For the sake of the story, I'm willing to overlook them because I feel like the story overall was good. I was satisfied with the ending, and it left me wanting more, and it, like you, has drawn me back to the BDB series.
Mm-hmm.
And my first time around, I was hoping I'd see these characters again someday, because at that point I hadn't started the other series. So I was late to the party on the BDB series. So I was like, oh, it sounds like we'll see them again. And as I started reading that series, I was like, oh, they're going to show up. I heard rumors they were going to show up, but it was so far removed from how many, it was a long time, a very long time.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember people were begging for Lassiter's book, and I was one of them. I was like, yeah, I'd love to see Lassiter's book. But then I quit the series, and now Lassiter's coming out again, a full decade later.
Yeah. But I'm re-energized about the BDB series because with the possibilities of these characters, even more of them showing up in this world, it could be amazing.
It could be so good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. All right, guys. So, we've been talking a while. We're going to tell you now what our next series is. If you are not following us on social or a part of Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official, or following us on the Book Clubs app, it's Book Clubs with an S. They have changed it. It was a Z. Now it's an S. You would have already seen what our next series is. It was already released. So if you want to be ahead of the game and you want to read with us and know what to get ahead of time, join us in those places. So Casey, would you like to share what our next series is?
Yes. Our next series is a YA dystopian trilogy called Legend by Marie Lu. And I am so excited. I read the first book, which is Legend, years ago, and it was fantastic because that was when all of the dystopian stuff was coming out, and I loved it. But I just never got around to finishing the trilogy. So now I'm like, all right, we got to do this. We got to tackle this trilogy. So I'm super excited.
I'm excited too. I remember when this was all the rage, quote unquote. People were really hyped about this series. It's been on my TBR for 10 years. I think it originally came out in 2011, November 2011.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's always been on my TBR. I just never got to it. So now this is the chance. This is your chance too. If you've heard about it, you're like, oh yeah. When I go back on Goodreads, that's still in there.
Yeah, no, like I loved the first book. I think I gave it 4 stars. And then I just never got around to reading the next book. And I'm like, oh, I should fix that.
Yeah.
I should really fix that because it was good. It was good. I liked it. So
yeah. So it's definitely got like people have tagged it also as science fiction and fantasy. So it's got those other vibes as well. And we really wanted to do an about face as far as like the theme and the feel of the genre of the books so that you wouldn't feel like you're reading the same thing again.
Oh, yeah. No, we like to mix it up in here. We want to change genres, change, dystopias. We're losing the world to God here. We're losing it to technology there. Like it'll be It'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So hope you join us for that. And of course, always you're welcome to join us for a book club. Join us in those groups. You can see us and talk with us on Zoom in a private setting. If you're not about that, no problem. We will be right here on the podcast next month talking about book 1. So you can just sit and listen if that is your preference. I'm glad you're here. Either way.
We really appreciate you. All of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, if you want to check out today's after show, it's available right now on Patreon. So head on over to Patreon, sign up, and you can see what we talk about after this episode.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I think we're done. What do you think, Casey?
I think we're done. I think we're good.
Fabulous. Okay, guys, it's been a blast. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you for being here. And we will see you next month. Until then, happy reading. Take care, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.